Hello, hello, my beautiful friends. It's Izabela Lundberg here, the World Messenger, taking you another amazing, epic journey today. I'm having a very special friend and colleague on the call. She is joining us from New York City, but originally she's also European transplant from Austria, and she is a former attorney. She's also a phenomenal coach. So many things actually to this guest that we're going to absolutely, with excitement, to pick. She's also certified in strengths coaching, which is very, very important aspects of what we're dealing with today that we will also go into it. But also trusted partner and advisor to so many top Fortune, I would say 10 or 15 global companies. And without further ado, please welcome Tania Friedlander. How are you, Tania?
Good, thank you. Thank you. I'm so excited to be here with you.
I'm super excited to have you as well, giving, it's just so much usually happens in life, but it's so great when we stay on track, and no matter what life throws at us, we keep showing up, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. That's the way to go. Yeah, no, that's fantastic. Yeah.
I might miss some amazing points. I know you have so much to your background, but just for everybody that is rolling in and listening and watching, actually, I just wanted to give you a few seconds just to give a little bit more of introduction, because one thing actually that I wanted to save and I did not forget, she was professional table tennis player. Talk about amazing successes in tournaments and games she won from her early years. So we can really tackle so many things, but do you mind sharing a little bit about your upbringing in Europe, in Austria, and then how did you dabble into professional sports?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, so I'm from Vienna, Austria. And when I was little, I was really very, passionate about sports and dance. And I was just playing with my father in the park. And somebody just discovered me. Somebody just was watching there and, came over to me and said, "You have a golden hand. Come play in my club." And I was like, what does that even mean?
Wow.
So he obviously saw something that I didn't see. And so I was curious and I just started practicing. And it wasn't really an established club or anything. But it was good enough for me to come and to play and to practice. And I was really seeking every opportunity, no matter who came in, that day. I was just playing, and as he just started entering me into competitions. And so I started to just continuously going into competitions, I became Vienna champion, and then I started to play European-wide. And I played, I won gold at the European Maccabi Games, and it's the Jewish Olympic Games, and I was playing European-wide and Austrian-wide, and it was such an incredible part of my life. So yeah, that is a little bit about my table tennis history, but I never really stopped in a way, because even when I went to university, I continued just, channeling my passion for table tennis in a different way. I opened a table tennis club at university, and I, educated others, and I practiced with others. And up until today, whenever I have an opportunity, I like to play and teach others.
That's fantastic. And I actually wanted to ask you exactly that, because a lot of times people, as they age, is that they change their, their priorities or whatnot. They kind of forget about their passion or things that they were passionate about. So I'm so glad you're doing that.
Yeah.
And it's also so interesting that you grew up in a city that I actually loved and grew up to love in so many different ways. And actually, that was the city that was pivotal for me to immigrate to the United States. So I'm sure you missed Vienna, because Vienna has so much history so much arts and museum and traditions.
Yes, and the culture is just very rich. It's the city of classical music. So every concert, everything, Mozart, Beethoven, everything is, it's just there, and it's really beautiful. Full of rich with culture, poetry, German literature, music, arts. It's very rich in culture.
That's fantastic, and we're lucky to also have a very rich in culture and diversity. People joining us specifically on LinkedIn right now and saying hello. We have Zain, we have Tasamin, we have a Rob, and Rob is actually pointing out how great it is to have obviously a reminder of our passions as we age specifically, right?
Exactly.
Because keeping alive, and I was always passionate actually around tennis, so just so interesting. It's like you had a golden hand in table tennis. So
yes, and I think what's so important is also that sometimes we feel like we need to leave our passions behind when we enter a different chapter in our life, but sometimes we just have to find a way and get creative on how to channel it. So right now I'm not playing competitions, but I can still use my passion and teach others and still play. So you just have to get creative and find ways of, just channeling your talents and your passions in a way that is more fitting to your life now.
And this is amazing, guys, because as we know, life, business, and sports are so intercorrelated. And that's kind of focus what we're going to be doing with this session with our great guest here, because something we literally discover, right, passion-wise through sports, and then we start approaching life, and you then started to focus on your law school. Do you mind sharing what kind of law you studied and what did you practice before you immigrated to the United States?
Yeah, so I went, so I lived after Austria, I moved to England. I actually moved at the age of 16 with my sister, and for educational purposes, we studied in Oxford, and then I went to law school, and I was living in many different places. I lived in like 12 places, 4 countries throughout my life, and I went to law school. When I graduated, I went into real estate law, and actually that was an eye-opening experience. And it was very interesting because now when I reflect back, so many things just start to make sense, But I will get to that. But I always had an interest in law and psychology, so at that time law made a lot of sense. And so I was in real estate, and that was it was serving its purpose back then. And a few years later, I moved to America, where I had to. It was like the crossroad in your life when you kind of have to kind of like reflect, do I want to continue on this path, or do I want to try something else? And so when I moved to America, it was really the time when I started to ask myself more questions. I was required to take the bar again. So so I was wondering if that is the path I want to go, or if I want to try something else. And coaching has been something that I always like I heard of, and it came just so when I learned more about coaching, it just so much of it resonated. The coaching approach just really resonated with me, and I started to learn more about it. And what really stuck with me was looking at another person as naturally creative, resourceful, and whole. And that is what I always really believed. I always felt like I loved people. I loved getting to know people. I find people fascinating. And so when I learned about it, and I always felt like people have such incredible potential. And so when I started learning more about the coaching approach, it was love at first sight. I was like, this is what I feel is my mission in life. So I went and trained at the world leading coaching institution, the Harvard of coach training schools. And it was a transformational experience for me. And ever since then, I've been coaching, and then I started to I found my passion in strength as well.
That is fantastic. So you shared a lot of amazing things here, but also your journey that really got you where you are at right now. And as we know in Europe, a lot of times we start very early. We don't necessarily fully self-discover. And here in the United States and other parts of the world, we commit to a specific industry or specific profession. And then over time, we find, is this something that's going to have a satisfaction, appetite, or be fitting for us in the long term? And kudos, again, Oxford is one of the most prestigious universities, and to study law school there, it's insanely hard. I have a cousin who studied in England and School of Economics, but also different parts of education. And I remember even talking couple of Oxford graduates, they're like, Izabela, you don't have no idea how demanding that is. You know, so again, kudos you for going through that journey, putting so much time and effort to obtain that. But then again, despite all the commitment, financial, emotional time, right? You allow yourself to break through in this new chapter of your life and finding new avenues.
Yeah,
sharing a little bit about that. I know you mentioned, you know, how do you went to Oxford coaching program and top-notch program in the United States. But do you mind sharing what was the breaking point for you? So the others that are considering and thinking, because I know that we're a lot of times stuck in old mold that we outgrew, but we're still squeezing and pushing in or trying to push out and break through. Do you mind sharing a little bit of that process so that others can see a lot of value? Because I know so many people are dealing with it right now.
In terms of being stuck in terms of being stuck.
Exactly, where they're not happy, where they know that they outgrow old self and they don't know what to do right now.
Yes, absolutely. And it's really, you know, kind of, there is, you know, you have to think of it as in many different facets of who we are, right? As we grow, our values change. And you know, we have to ask ourselves, are our values aligned with what we're doing in our life right now? Are they, you know, are we honoring our values at this stage of our lives? If you're feeling, you know, that something's missing for you, and also, am I using my strengths? Am I maximizing my talents and my strengths? And often you find, you know, when I reflect back, actually, when I started my strengths journey, I felt like when I started my strengths journey, I really started to reflect back on my life, and I started to see how everything that happened made so much sense in terms of what I was missing in law was when I was doing real estate, that I was behind a computer, I was drafting contracts, I was, you know, going through agreements, and I just felt something was missing for me. I felt like I'm not using everything I'm made of. It was just a feeling. I couldn't explain it. I just felt it. I just felt like that. I know that I'm meant to be doing something more. I just knew there is something more to what I can give. And something wasn't, the part of me was stimulated, but another part of me needed something else. And so when I started my own strengths journey and reflecting back, I started to notice that, you know, there were some of the what it was speaking to, my strengths, I wasn't using all of my strengths, and that's why I wasn't as stimulated, you know. And when I started my coaching journey and coaching others, I really felt like I'm using all of my strengths to help others maximize their own, you know, their talents and their strengths. And so that is really, you know, in order to live a fulfilled and meaningful life, it means to use your strength and to seek out opportunities. Make a conscious choice to seek out opportunities to use your strength.
I love what you just shared. And if you don't mind, I just want to point out for our audience and our listeners, and would like to hear your thought on that as well. A lot of times we substitute those needs in something else. Either we lack creativity, so we go ahead and do something creative. And I remember working also with executives and CEOs, in which we'll get to that, and trusted partners in the past, where they would suppress so much, because they have to lead, they have to be specific description of who they are, that they will really struggle with all of the other elements that they wanted to do.
Yeah.
And more people are dealing with the high pressure roles, or being in situations where they feel like this doesn't really it's not anymore appetizing, or it's not appetizing, I'm sorry, or it's not anymore passion coming through, because I feel like I'm also missing something. People usually call middle life crisis, or just crisis of, going through life on autopilot, and needing to break through something. And that's where a lot of times things crumble, their personal life, professional life, because pressure just get harder and harder to endure.
Yes.
And we all have a strength, right? And before we go into real actual Gallup Strength Finder and tools that are available, but it's how much we actually even aware of what our strengths are. Every time I will ask someone, I'm not sure about your coaching process, but when I will ask them, people puzzle because we're so much focused in the past, and I hope this shifts and change, on people's weaknesses instead of people's strengths. That really shatters and overshadows all the great beauty and capacity we have, actually.
Absolutely. And the conventional approach, in organizations and companies is, has always been fixing weaknesses, kind of maintain your strengths, them, you put them aside, what they are, just maintain them, but focus on fixing your weaknesses. And so what Gallup has done is really shown that, whilst you can and, should try to do whatever it is you want to do, if you want to become good at something, you should go and, learn it and study it. But your greatest chance of success lies when you focus on leveraging your strengths.
Yes. And even more so when you're in position of being allowed to grow, right? And be able to keep going and growing and doing so. But that is fantastic. So do you mind picking a little bit more about Gallup Strengths? For everybody that is watching and listening, Gallup is most prestigious in terms of data analytics and statistics on a million different things. So that's where we get quoted. That's where everybody, specifically in the United States, quotes their research, because they're spent so much time and money on doing research. So if you see a very strong academic article, will be at least, I don't know how many references to their most current, most accurate, most detailed types of research. And that is very close to heart to me, because I met not original Gallup Strengths Finder that developed the grandfather, but father and son that are carrying on that torch and really giving amazing tool individually and professionally, right? And then do you mind just sharing, because I know how much time and effort took to really depict human behaviors and identify how many exactly there are that are shaping us as who we are, and then based on that really indicates what should we be leading with.
Yes, absolutely. And that is exactly what Gallup has done, is studying human nature and behavior more than 80 years, and has discovered actually that people who focus on their strengths are 3 times more likely to report having an excellent quality of life. And people who focus on using their strengths are 6 times more likely to feel engaged and likely to be engaged in their job. So this shows tremendous, what an impact it has on using your strengths. And it has really shown how when organizations take and you really lead with strengths and help your team members to really explore what their strengths are and really put them, align them with projects and everything that they're really naturally good at, their engagement is much higher. They're much more fulfilled and find purpose in their work. And so absolutely, that is something incredible that Gallup has done a lot of research on.
And this back translates to what we started with, right? Because you have amazing trifecta here of understanding the life, business, and sports. And that is the kind of elements that I love to play with, because as a former athlete who was pro and now plays, for pleasure and fun and coaches others, someone who understands from athletic standpoint what it takes to self-develop, further develop, specifically not only just in performance physically, but emotionally, right? And then now through life journeys to listen, to pay attention to that inner voice, but then now into business realm. And we've seen so much disruption. And I'm just glad we can have this conversation, because again, focusing on Fortune top 10 or top 15 companies and companies that you've been involved with, from Google, Facebook, other names escape me, if you can please fill in. They're going also through insane transformation right now and major disruption.
Yes.
In order to create a high-performing teams, cohesive teams, you have to understand who you already have on the team.
Yes.
You need to understand what makeup DNA is there. You need to understand if people are positioned in proper roles. You need to know where the overlaps are. Sometimes we have insane amount of overlaps and insane amount of that crucial gap. Doesn't have to be wide, but is essential to connect all of that together. So do you mind sharing a little bit from that high level of those large corporations and some things you're seeing right now that are unfolding, and how is this playing out to their advantage?
Yeah, so what really is happening is that there has to be like the changing demands of the workforce is really that in the past, there are like 6 major aspects that are changing from old world to new world, which is, there was a time where it was about the paycheck. Now it is about people are looking for purpose. So we're going from paycheck to purpose. Much more people are looking to find something that they're fulfilling, that's fulfilling to them, where they find meaning in the work. There was a time where it was satisfaction. Now people are looking for development, to continuously develop themselves and to really, use like strengths, to use their strengths and to develop themselves. There was a time where you had a boss, but now look, people are looking for a coach, a boss that will coach them, that will really, empower them and sees everything that they come with. And part of it is to develop them, right?
Yes.
Another aspect is that it used to be an annual review, but it's shown that ongoing conversations are much more important than this one annual review. It's just not enough. You have to have ongoing conversations. And also there used to be a focus on weaknesses. Now we are changing into focusing on strength, and whilst you should be aware of your weaknesses, you shouldn't be focusing on them. You should know how to manage around them. But your biggest chance for success lies when you really focus on your strengths and develop them further. And it really, before it was just people used to look at their job as a job. It has become much more of a, it's about all encompassing my life, and people are asking much more these days, does my job value my strengths and my contribution? Does this organization give me a chance to do what I do best every day? So we have really developed, into a new stage and something that we really need to be changing. Instead of investing in other, acquisitions, just develop your team. That's the best investment.
Hallelujah, sister. You're speaking to the choir, and I'm just so glad that we share this passion, because people truly don't understand. I'm seeing so often people working so hard on some projects, and if it's a tiny little thing that is off, so much focus and energy go at that tiny little thing and overshadows that 99+% of all that great and good, and that shatters people motivation, that shatters their interest and creativity and kills the drive, basically. Specifically when it comes in a ways that is so unintentional and truly not constructive. I remember this guy who just loved to criticize, who was just thinking he's the God walking on the water. And reality is egos and, you know, personalities and such a demanding ways that really shatter trust and shatter desire to serve in the best possible way, you know, demoralizing. So we really have major shift happening. And why I also wanted to have this conversation, I'm seeing shift within the leadership with guys who are in charge of these organizations and these teams, that they're also recognizing their blind spots, but also recognizing their strengths. And some of them hopefully will make a right shift too, because they might be fitted better in different position or with different scope of their tasks and regular day-to-day versus what they may have currently on their plate. And it's an elevator, right? From penthouse to C-suite, all the way, I call it, to basement. Everybody contributes to that well-oiled engined organization. And we need to look at all of those pieces together, don't we?
Exactly, absolutely, absolutely. And that is where the show focus is shifting, you know, in developing and focusing on your team. And that is the best investment you can do.
That is fantastic. I wanted just to tell we have a more, I guess, join us here and sharing some stuff. Theodore Tamins, Isaac is here. He's just checked in and saying hello. So we're having basically guys coming from Europe, Middle East, and then also we're having guys coming, obviously, from North Americas. So it's just great to have such a diverse audience. Guys, feel free to ask questions. We are here to serve and help you to understand, and then also help you to be the best version of yourself, right?
Yes, exactly. Yeah. And, you know, something that I feel like, you know, that I always hear is that, you know, people do remember, you know, the good days, you know, when you have a really good day, you know, you're just, something about the day was just so great. People remember the what of a great day, but the why is much harder for many people to discern, you know. And the secret lies in understanding Gallup's research on human nature, which is that every time you have had a really great day, you were using your strength to the hilt. And really, when you, right?
Yes. I heard someone said, a very wise and older gentleman who was my mentor and great friend, who fortunately it's not anymore around. He passed away, but he said something very powerful. He goes, Izabela, I just want you to be spent, like you utilize yourself to maximum so that you build such a fulfilled life. So when you do pass away, you know, you maximize the time you had, not time that you missed, not time you wish you had, but that time you had. And it was just such a beautiful satisfaction and peace in that. You know, it's like, because often we feel like we're missing out. Often we feel we're not maximizing what we're capable, or whatever might be scenarios, right? Yeah. But when we do leverage, I just said that, our strength to max, then we feel fully utilized. We feel like we truly utilize what we're capable and able to do.
Exactly. And really, like you said, sometimes when you ask people what are their strengths, sometimes it's like, it's hard to, you know, to really express them, you know, and the assessment is just a starting point, you know. When you read through it, it's kind of like the feedback I've been getting from many clients is that, you know, you just see a reflection of yourself, like you see, you know, them expressing it in a way that you just weren't able to express it. A lot of times you think certain things could be just personality quirks, right? You know?
Yes.
But then you're like, oh, wow, this is actually a strength.
Yes. And a lot of times people also could see that weakness could be strength and strength could be weakness, right? Depending how it's utilized, but depending also perception, depending on the company's culture, depending, like, you know, some cultures, if you're outspoken, if you're direct, if you are a strategist, if you're always problem solver, and if you bring in some solutions, some people can be so annoyed and frustrated and say, you know, it's like, we're stuck with this, we focus on this, don't do that right now. Some people can perceive different intentions and different behavior as negative, disruptive, the way they maybe they're conveyed, or just simply that they are part of the equation. Because traditionally people don't love change, right? Nobody really proactively, very small number we know proactively changes. I believe it's less than 3%. So when we put that in perspective, we have humans on this planet Earth, almost 8 billion of them, and only 3% or less proactively seek change and transformation.
Yeah.
That means that 97+% was forced into that from either life circumstances or business circumstances, health circumstances, it doesn't matter, all those things, right? So what do we do with that? How do we navigate? And a lot of times it's when it's horribly painful, challenging, difficult, or we're boss told we have to. So do you mind telling us a little bit about how large organizations, from your perspective, arrive to really say we really need a solution, and then to buy into that solution and go with that? Obviously, results, statistics speak about it, but I'm sure it's usually types of major disruption, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And it's just, something that the workforces just are, realizing that under those circumstances, even if it is other circumstances, you are not, those changes that are happening out of, possibly like something forced outside circumstances or so, there is always like looking from it from an opportunity perspective, so it's always seeking those opportunities and asking yourself, okay, with whatever changes happened, with all these transitions, how can I still use because you can always still, under every circumstance, still ask yourself, how can I put my strength in these circumstances to work for me, to serve me?
Yeah, I've seen a lot of specific executives who they're doing a lot of soul searching and coaching outside, not even through available budgets or available services that organization is offering, because they want more, they crave more, and they want to go into different types of approaches. Because right now, and this is again relatable to anybody, guys. And Tania will share, I'm sorry, exactly where you can get your test done, and the cost, and what is this associated with, and how this can be life-changing. Because I remember I did years and years ago mine, and then I lost the trail in emails or whatever, downloads. Where is it, So I did it again, and it was just so beautiful to look at myself, in a different light, and embrace not only my top 5 strengths, which are freaking spot on. I was like, if I could depict, I was like, I couldn't depict them better, because they truly do, as you said, make sense what we did, how we did, and why we arrived today, because they're just spot on who we are. Yeah. But more you self-discover, and earlier you self-discover, it's just a lot of value there. But Tania, I'm sorry, I keep calling you Tania. Could you mind sharing just a little bit more about any process that, like just to walk somebody who's listening right now and would like to have that done? Yes. Do you mind just sharing a little bit with them what this process looks like?
Yes, absolutely. And often people just, like you said, you take an assessment and you're like, okay, where was it again? I need to look for it in my email. And it's just like, it almost feels like all these assessments, there's so many of them, right? And it's just another assessment, right? But when you start to really, start naming it, and the process really is name it, claim it, and aim it.
Yeah, I love that. Do you mind repeating it again?
Name it, claim it, and aim it.
Brilliant.
Yes. And the process is that you first you have to name it. And it's not just like, okay, this word, I'm a maximizer, I'm a this, I'm a connector, but rather, going through it and highlighting what resonates with you and seeing how is this showing up in my life? And am I using them right now in my job, in my life in general? Am I able to use my strengths every day? And what you start to do is going through the process of really naming it, and the claiming it is really taking ownership of it, really owning it and saying, oh, yes, this is who I am. And how can I, the next step is aiming it. How can I leverage them? How can I make a conscious choice and seek out opportunities to use them in everyday life? And it can be just focusing in one at a time. It can be just like, pick one, and start looking and seeking out opportunities of how you can use them more in your life. And so what it often does is that, the most, incredible part is how often I hear that actually, as I'm going through, this journey with clients, they actually are surprised and thought that what they thought were weaknesses are their strengths. And that is really, that is really incredible. It can be very eye-opening.
Yes.
So it's like examples of, oh, I'm people have told me I'm talking too much, Oh, actually communication is, I love to express myself, and you start to notice of how everything that they thought were like weaknesses are actually strengths that they should be using and should look for opportunities to use them.
That is fantastic. And if you don't mind, I'm just going to quickly piggyback on that. It's eye-opening, I'm sure, also for bosses, and it's eye-opening for other team members, because then we know more about each other, and more we share, and more we embrace. Now we have more aha moments, because I remember some guys were pissed off. It's like, she's so acting weird. But when they understood what meant weird for them, and that was her natural state, and actually was the acid just because she was a little bit different than them, that doesn't mean that is something wrong, but also how pivotal that was actually in problem solving in one particular scenario when we were doing a large project. But what I also was finding, and I don't know about you here, entrepreneurs, specifically guys who are having so many priorities and moving parts in their businesses, don't have leverage and utilization of the large teams and budgets like the large corporations. More than ever, I'm seeing this so vital and crucial for them as they're growing and forming their teams, because I'm seeing a lot of times people have bad hire, or a lot of times they don't really hire for personality, for behavioral aspects of it. And then as a result, they completely create havoc in their organization, within their teams, and more challenges instead of more solutions.
Yes.
So I think the smaller organization can quickly gain the traction, see results, see the value, and expand upon. What are your thoughts on that?
Yes, absolutely. Spot on. Yeah. It's it's something that we really need to focus on more. It's absolutely right. Yeah.
And we have one question that is being asked for Tamsin. I'm sorry if I mispronounced your name, Ahmed. Would that work your creativity much? So I'm assuming when we're talking about how unleashing our creativity and knowing our strengths and leading with that, absolutely, I would say would increase our words. But please, you're experts in that. Do you mind sharing a little bit how that creativity increase our words in as an individual contributor, I guess?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, this is then, again, if you feel that you have such a creative aspect of you and it just needs to be channeled, you need to look for opportunities, to use that creativity, and often what happens is that we are just like maintaining it, but we really should be focusing on it, because that is when we really start feeling, very satisfied, and, it's a very, life becomes much more emotionally gratifying when we do what we do best. So when you feel you have such a creative aspect of you, it's about really leveraging that.
That's great. And one thing that is keep coming also is as we're transitioning, as we're transforming in different roles, as people are trying to figure it out. So many people lost their jobs. So many are not sure which industry they should pursue, or they're not sure what job descriptions, levels, titles, stressors they want to be dealing with, because we're still dealing with a lot of epic, not only events, but also changes on so many levels. I'm sure comes very clearly, like, where do I even start? Where do I even begin? How do I translate now this in my resume? How do I translate that on my LinkedIn profile? Because I feel like you have to almost start there. You have to understand yourself and be so clear who you are, so that that clarity comes through, so that you can convey it back to the world.
Absolutely, absolutely. And it always starts with that self-awareness, right? You know, and that is often what it does. It's not supposed to be teaching you something new. It's really just to boost that self-awareness, you know. It's usually most people actually, you know, and even if they don't, I usually find like they later, through a bit of discovery, see a reflection of that. But, you know, usually it's like, it's just confirming and reinforcing who you are, and then it's supposed to just raise that awareness for you, so that you can, you know, use it to serve you and to find more meaning and fulfillment in your life and at work. Yeah. And
and everybody, I definitely will post the link for her, for Tania's profile. And I love your background, and I love, you know, how you also conveyed your message about what you do and how you do it, and what is happening. But one interesting thing I wanted to ask you is, what type of coaching and support, and what type of need do you identify right now? I'm seeing a lot of people just simply seeking support, right? And without knowing what strengths they have, sometimes we don't even tap into our own strengths in coping either with the losses or coping with the grievances or whatever might be the case. But I'm just curious, how do you pivot that, and how you do that self-discovery process, and based on the hot topics and hot demands that you've seen that are happening right now?
Right. You mean the coaching, the process?
Correct.
Yes. So it really depends. If somebody wants to discover more in terms of strength, it is really about, you know, obviously, you know, I always ask what they consider themselves to have strengths, but sometimes it's just easier because to really get you started, you know, the assessment is really just a tiny step in an endless journey of self-discovery, which is a great thing, you know. So it's really just an opening for us to have a conversation around it. You know, what do you see? What don't you see? Is this something that resonates with you? And what do you want to have more of in your life? You know, that is a big one, because sometimes we do not realize that there's certain, you know, it's okay how things are going, but something is just missing, or you know, there is this, it's just not, something's not enough. I'm not using all my strengths. So you want to get a little bit more specific on what it is that you want to have more of, you know, and that is really like how the engagement, and I take it through the process of name it, claim it, and aim it. Yeah, and it's a quite, you know, eye-opening that 1 in 33 million have the same order of results. So, you know, it shows how unique each person is. 1 in 33 million.
Tania, you're one of the 1 in 33 million. Wow. and when we calculate with that 8 billions, how many of you exist? Not many, really, but that is amazing. Yeah. That is, again, great perspective. So a lot of times I hear people saying, I feel sometimes on island for various reasons, right? Because the culture is different, people dynamics is different, but also people behavior and personalities are different. So no wonder a lot of people feel not full sense of belonging. And we don't have to all be the same, but we have to have cultivated culture of inclusiveness.
Yes.
Culture where we truly can allow that and use the strength of differences to divide and conquer. Then we have that 360 cohesive, holistic approach to anything that we can solve, right? But without that, it just astonished to me to see how often we hire people that think and act the same as we do.
Yes.
Because of the comfort that we were talking about, right? It is comfortable. And as long as it's comfortable and as long as I can ride this, you know, I don't need to change and I don't need to worry about change. And then we now have pandemic and economic crisis force change. And so many people are losing footing and stability on that. And I just wanted to, guys, please feel free, again, ask us questions, comment, because it's a lot of great opportunities, ways to give back and offer that, because I know that more people are in silent suffering than willing to truly reach out and step up and say, I truly could use help. Yes. Is there any way you can assist, or how you can assist?
Absolutely. And now more than ever, I think it has been for so many people a year of reflection, and kind of like asking yourself, it's kind of shaken a lot of people, and, you really get to understand, see what's important in my life, and there is no, you are so unique. Each individual is just so unique. Use it. The world needs it. The world needs who you are, and it's not just your top 5 strengths. It's really the combination. Some people label it and say, oh, I'm this or I'm that. It's not just one. It's the whole makeup. It's really all of them combined makes up your talents and your strengths, and and your values. Values are very important. Am I honoring my values in this moment of my life? And it's something that a lot of people are reflecting on, and a combination of those aspects are really what makes us feel, purposeful, and that we are using our great potential.
That is beautiful. And in closing, if you don't mind just sharing a little quick tidbits or golden nuggets with audience, first of all, where to find you, how they can also follow up directly to chat with you. But in the same time, what would you just recommend? Because this 2021 is still the year of major transformation. So embrace it, right? Yeah. But also year of still tons of change, forceful change, brutal change, unpleasant change, unforeseen change, right? Mm-hmm. So anything you want to leave the audience with so that they can navigate that a little bit better?
Absolutely. So something that is what I have seen is very important is that it's really a choices that we make, and even whether you take the assessment or not, and whether it's just thinking about your strengths, think about them, and really make a conscious choice. Just start with something small. How can I take my creativity or whatever strengths you have, you identified for yourself, just take one small step and make a conscious choice to move closer in the direction to use it. The more you do that, just one strength, look for opportunities. It's anywhere in your life, whether at work, whether outside of work, to use it, and then choose another one and start looking for opportunities for another one. The more you start living a conscious life, and that means really reflecting on your strengths and what your goals are, and how to use your strengths to reach your goals, that is how you're going to get there every single day. It's about making a conscious choice today.
Wow. Guys, you heard it. It's no silver bullet. It's not quick fix. It's hard work. But guess what? It is so worth it, because more self-discover, more in pace you are who you are, more authentically show up, more bold and brave you become, the more impact you're going to make and more successful, frankly, you're going to be. So that is such a great lesson here, guys.
Absolutely. And don't let circumstances lead your life. Take charge.
Yes, because look at what Tania did. She moved from Europe. She's right now in New York City. She is happily married, for all those guys checking out. Just, yes, she is. And then I just want to also say an extremely smart, brilliant human being that went also to major change. I'm sure, I know that for me was a huge adjustment coming to the United States and adapting to new cultures. So we're preaching something what we really experientially do on a daily basis, guys. We're not selling you theory here. And matter of fact, we're not selling anything. We just want to help you out so that less and less people are struggling, less and people are thinking even, going to far extreme, as we're seeing so many people committing suicide, so many people just not finding ways that they can really handle the level of pressure and change that we're experiencing right now.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And it's really all the stages that we've been through, right? All the transitions, all the changes. It's really what making a conscious choice of what we want to focus on, because, back in my table tennis career, it wasn't set up perfectly for me. It wasn't, I didn't have a great coach. I didn't have a lot of tools, but whatever I had, I worked with. And no matter where you go, it's like making a choice of, making it work with what you have and using, your skills, your knowledge, and everything that you come with, your strengths, to make it work for you.
That is brilliant. And if you don't mind, just we'll wrap up shortly, guys. I want to ask this specific question. You're in New York right now, and you've been in New York due to insane pandemic lockdowns and everything else, and possibly another lockdown. So obviously knowing yourself helped you, being able to have these tools, as you said. The same thing with me. I had to make some major decisions over and over again on my own without, having sense of who can I ask for advice, who has been through this, who could be possibly my mentor. And a lot of times, yes, that build us, but then some things could be easier. So as a result, some things were more and more challenging than I could actually ever expect they would be. So putting back for New York and current circumstances there, do you mind just give us a little bit snippet how is to really go through all of this in New York during this time?
Well, I think each individual is going through their own, the situation is, cases are just, rising, everything, new strain and all the different things. But, I do see an end in sight very soon. And I just, I focus on, on gratitude and all the things that we do have, and how I can still, learn something new and really take advantage of all the things that I'm working with, whatever is available, taking advantage of what is available, whether it's during lockdown, looking for possibilities to, okay, so what can I do with my time now? It could be more connection. It could be, more different discoveries, different learnings. But it's, looking at challenges from the eyes of what are certain opportunities here? What can I learn here? Maybe I will just learn more about myself and how I deal under a pandemic, So, yes. But, I also have my own coach. I know that everybody needs a support system. So a mentor, a coach, whatever it is that you feel that you need, we all need it. And there are certain things that, only somebody else can see something about you. You don't know everything, it's like those limiting beliefs or blind spots that, as an objective person can see what you don't see. And it's really important because you're in the driver's seat, you're focused on the road, but somebody next to you, the passenger, has this expanded view, and sees, oh, do you look here? Look over there. Is this where you want to go? Is that the road? You might want to go turn over there, So that is really the role of a coach. It has that expanded view. It kind of sees certain things that you can't see for yourself just because you're in it. You're focused on something.
That is brilliant. And I'm glad you, again, to share that specifically, how not only strong we are and to lead with our strengths and tap into those strengths, but also focus on things that we can do versus what we cannot do. Otherwise, we'll go crazy.
Exactly.
And when we do, we'll start finding so many small things satisfying, appetizing, and as a result, that will help us to build and then progress and accomplish great things. So everybody, I wish you massive success. I hope you guys get so much value from this conversation. I definitely did. And Tania, looking forward to see where things are taking us in 2021. And it was an absolute pleasure to have you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. It was so much fun. Thank you.
We continue. We'll have her back. Okay, guys.